Mic check 1 2, mic check 1 2. What's going on? Welcome to Team Zuby Livestream number 4. I hope you are blessed and doing well. Let me know if you are in the chat, if you can hear me okay, if you can see me okay. I hope we are all set up and good to go. I'm feeling all purple today, feeling a little bit purpled out. So let me know if you can see me okay. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Just want to make sure that all is well with the stream. It's a brand new week. Monday, of course, so I hope you are doing well. Let me know how you're doing. Hit me up in the chat. Let's see what's going on. Alrighty, we got people joining. It's going to take a little second to catch up on the numbers and everything. Shout out to Mazzamonte. I can see Mazza in the chat right there, so shout out to you. Shout out to everybody who is tuning in. As I said, let me know that you can hear me okay. Okay, good. Getting some messages saying that all is fine. So let's do some shout outs. Shout out to Lisa. Shout out to Quabena. Am I saying that right? Quabena. I'm going to go with Quabena. Where's that from? Is that maybe a Ghanaian name? Let me know in the chat. Maybe I'm getting it wrong, but let me know if I'm getting it right. Yo, what's up, Chris? Vanessa, David, Uncle, Jay. What's going on? Good to see you guys. Happy that you are tuning in. This is a live stream number 4. I decided to, okay, yes, I was correct. Ghanaian, yes, I'm good. Yo, shout out to you. Awesome. So today is the live stream number 4. I decided to title it Everybody is a Grifter because I keep seeing that word being thrown around online incessantly over the past year, really, maybe the last 2 years. And I just thought it would be a funny thing to say because I keep seeing it today on social media today. I just keep seeing the term grifter. Everyone's just being called a grifter for everything and for nothing. So it's kind of funny. So I'm going to start out the live stream as I normally do. If you want to, what I'm going to do though is let me just share the link so that people have got it. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to share this on a couple of my socials right there. And, okay, give me 1 second. I will be back with you. In the meantime, if you have any questions, let me know. You can ask a question in the chat and I will get to you. If you want me to prioritize your question and you would like to support me and support the channel and everything I do, then you can drop a super chat. I always do get to the super chats. If not, just ask a question as usual. Okay, I'm just posting this out to let people know that we are now going live. So yeah, drop your questions. Let me know your questions, and I will get to you. So as before, I'm gonna answer a couple questions. Then I'm gonna talk a little bit about the whole grifter terminology and how it's being thrown around and how it's being misused and why people should use words correctly. Then I'll open it up again for another Q&A. I think this time I normally live stream for about an hour. I'm feeling super duper tired today. I'm trying not to show it, but I might cut it to about 45 minutes, but we will see. If we get a lot of questions, then we can go longer. Okay. So, got the first super chat. There we go. Thank you very much, Don. Thanks again for coming on Bleeping Podcast last week. One question I didn't get to. Who are some of the artists, past or present, who have been an influence on your music career? That's a good question. I was on Don's podcast recently. It's called the Bleeping Podcast, so you can check that out. Some of my favorite artists, past and present. So my 2 favorite rappers are Jay-Z and Tech-9. I'm also a big fan of Nas, Tupac, Kanye West, Eminem, Royce da 5'9". Man, I like a lot of people. The Game, 50 Cent. I like a lot of different artists. So those are some of my main hip-hop influences. In terms of influences outside hip-hop, I mean, there's stuff I listen to. I don't know how much it really influences me, though. So those would be a couple of names that I'd give out to you right there. But I like a lot of stuff. I'm pretty open-minded. And but I tend to listen more of the older stuff, the stuff that came out kind of in my teenage years and early 20s. I'm kind of at that stage now where I tend to prefer that, I think, as most people do. I think most people's favorite music tends to be what they really loved when they were sort of in those years. And I'm kind of the same. Like, I like modern hip hop as well, but I do think it sort of had its golden era sometime in the 90s and early thousands. So that's my personal opinion there. We got some other questions here, so I'm gonna feel free to ask questions. Feel free to ask questions. Just drop them in the chat, and I will try to get to you. This is not a question, but it's a nice comment from Archie. Hey, new fan, love your podcast and tweets so much that I'm taking a break from work for 5 minutes to listen. Awesome. Don't get in trouble at work, but I'm glad you popped in to say hello. Okay, someone's asking here. It's a question from Jay. Would you ever go on Tim Pool's podcast? Yeah, I definitely go on Tim Pool's podcast. Absolutely. In fact, everyone who runs that show follows me on social media, including Tim himself. So we all know each other. They've mentioned me on the podcast a bunch of times. So if they ever want to have me on, then I'd be happy to go on it. I'd also like to get Tim on Real Talk with Zuby. I definitely will at some point. He's a super busy guy. I mean, he puts out, 15 YouTube videos a day, 7 days a week, something crazy like that. So I know he's a busy dude, but I will eventually get him on my podcast as well. We got another couple super chats have come through. This is one from Max. What's up, Max? Appreciate you tuning in every week, man. Hey, Zuby, it's Max. Did you see Don Lemon and Terry Crews debate? When you go back to the U.S., I'd love to see a debate between you and Don. Hope you're good. Yeah, I did see that. And gosh, it was frustrating. I mean, Don Lemon has really become a sort of partisan shill at this point. I mean, I don't know if you saw the video of him from about 7 years ago, where he actually sounded like, where he was talking about some of the issues in the black community in America regarding crime and some of the things being internal, etc. And he was singing a totally different tune. He was saying things that, he was saying that Bill O'Reilly didn't go far enough. If you don't know Bill O'Reilly, he used to be like a very prominent American Republican conservative right-wing commentator. And Don Lemon was totally agreeing with his points, which aren't even partisan points, by the way. But and he was saying, yeah, he didn't go far enough. So it was kind of weird to compare that to the kind of stuff he's doing now, where he keeps claiming to be objective. Look, I have no problem if people are biased and people are subjective, as long as they're honest about it, Like, I have my own biases, I have my own leanings, my own opinions. I can never pretend to be 100% straight down the middle, and I'm also not a journalist, so I don't need to be. I'm not an objective journalist. I try to see both sides of the thing. I try not to be hyper partisan and, just kind of aligned to any team or anything like that. But if you're supposed to be a journalist, if you're one of these supposedly objective journalists on TV, and you're just straight down one party line whilst claiming to be objective, then I find that annoying. And I think Terry Crews made some fantastic points. He made some great points, because he basically said what I say. He was saying that all Black Lives Matter. And Don Lemon was talking about how Black Lives Matter is not about all Black lives mattering. And if Terry Crews wants to form an organization called All Black Lives Matter that addresses things outside of police brutality, then he should go and do that. And I mean, that just, I don't know, that's like saying the quiet part out loud. That's what I've thought about lots of the aspects of this organization and movement for a while. And it's like, look, if it's Black Lives Matter, then you can't just care about the 0.0001% who die at the hands of police, right? You've got to look at the bigger picture. If we're going to talk about lives mattering and in general, right, across the board, like we got to look at the serious stuff. We got to look at the 90% issues. We got to look at the 10% issues, the 20% issues, not just these very selective fringe ones, and ignore all the others. I don't know. I think 34 people were like murdered in one city, something like that. Like the amount of murders that have been happening in the U.S., particularly, I think every single murder in the past month in New York has been a black person, and like you don't even hear about that. You've had like children getting killed. There was a 2-year-old baby who was shot in the stomach the other day and murdered at a barbecue, right? You've had, what's the name of that other kid? Sincere Gaston, who was like shot in a drive-by. There have been loads of children murdered, lots of black children murdered very recently, just in these past few weeks. And people just kind of shrug their shoulders and don't want to talk about it. And you're not supposed to talk about it. So Terry Crews wanted to bring some of these things up. And, the way that Don Lemon wanted to kind of shut him down. The whole thing's just disingenuous to me, man. Like I do believe that all Black Lives Matter. I believe all lives matter. All of these statements, I agree with all of them, right? They're all correct. And it's just become so politicized. and hyper partisan, and people don't really want to talk about real issues. And that's why I struggle to engage with certain people, because they're not serious. You know, if you want to really talk about the problem, then let's talk about the problem. And it's a shame. It's a shame, you know, like it's sad seeing what's happening. You're seeing the murder rate literally going up in certain cities in the US, especially as the police are disbanding. I mean, I think it was it New York. I think 500 police officers in the past 5 weeks have filed for not filed for unemployment. They've handed in their resignations, something like that. It's a crazy number. I believe it's over 500 of them. And that's just going to make things worse. You know, you're getting people trying to say they want to get rid of the police, but it's really going to make things worse in these communities. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a heavy topic, but it is frustrating. And I say that as an outsider, but someone who does care. We got another super chat here. This one's from Vanessa Gonzalez. She sends $4.99. Thank you very much, Vanessa. How do you keep a level head when your buttons are being pushed? It's a good question, Vanessa. I'm very, very calm, and I'm an extremely calm person. I'm blessed to be in like the bottom 2% of what is called neuroticism, so sensitivity to negative emotions. So a lot of that is just personal. I'm just not very sensitive to stuff like that. And I keep the bigger picture in mind, and I try to focus on the positive, and I try to focus more on, you know, doing this here, I'm chatting to people who like and appreciate what I do. So I try to spend much more time doing that than addressing people who, you know, don't like me or think they don't like me, or just trying to denigrate me or pull me down or just be negative all the time about the world in general. I just don't entertain that too much. I address it once in a while, but if you just get caught in that loop, then then it becomes hard to keep a level head. So you've just got to focus more on the positive and be gracious and happy for the positive things that are out there. And I can assure you, you have a lot of them in your life. And thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Yo, we got one from my man Patriot J. 4 cents, $4.99. He wrote Zuby is my favorite grifter. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Shout out to Patriot J. He's a very, very funny guy on social media. So you should follow him if you don't. We got another one here. This is from OP Blitz. He's lost. Is the West lost to the Cultural Revolution? No, I don't think the West is lost to the Cultural Revolution. I think there are some people who really, really want to push that and really want that to be the case. But look, the majority of people are still normal. You know, go outside, hang out in the street, go to the park, go to the town or city center. Most people are still normal. If you go out there, people don't really want a revolution. People are generally pretty happy with their lives, as much as they may complain about it on social media. Most people are generally pretty happy and content. And yeah, sure, there are always going to be issues in society that we want to make better on all sides across the board. We may have different opinions about what that means. But truthfully, most people want to be peaceful. Most people want to chill. Most people are not violent or aggressive. Most people are relatively polite. Most people are busy, and we don't really want to be bothered. We just want to have, life, love, happiness, look after our friends, our families, our communities, etc. I think that's what most people want. We just have different ways of doing it. But for the tiny percent who want these crazy revolutions and stuff, sure, they can do their hashtag activism and do some crazy stuff here and there. But in the long term, I don't think that, I don't know. I don't think they're going to win. But I think the silent majority needs to speak up a little bit more, as I've said before. But thank you very much for the super chat. All right, we got another one here. This is from Maza Monty. She sends £5 and she wrote, "For my weekly dose of smooth, calming sanity, in a place where political zen, in a place of political zen for me. You give me hope. You see a lady was shot by BLM for saying all lives matter." Yeah. So firstly, thank you for the super chat, and thank you. I'm glad I can be a voice of sanity. Yes, in terms of what you're saying, I saw something about this. I only saw the headline. She said that a lady was shot by BLM for saying that's Black Lives Matter, for saying all lives matter. I saw the headline, but I haven't looked into the actual situation, and I'm very careful to not give a strong opinion on something that I haven't actually read the details of, because that's how you end up spreading fake news and hyping up stuff that you aren't really fully informed on. If what you've written is actually the case, then that is awful. That's terrible. I mean, someone getting shot for any reason, let alone something that stupid, is awful. That's awful. And this is really not what is needed right now. I mean, look, this is the problem. I've said this before. I've said it many times, and I said it in a previous live stream that if people are, people need to decide, do we want unity or division? All right. I think this is really the question. Do we want unity, or do we want division? And for me, the answer is very simple. I want unity. Right. I've told you guys many times. Anyone who knows me knows my message from the beginning, from day one. I'm not about dividing people up by race and class and ethnicity and this and that, right? Sure, we're all members of different tribes in many ways, and we have our differences and our similarities, etc. But I just rock with good people. It's really that simple to me. People are often trying to like drag me into this and drag me into that, and I'm just like, look, man, I love my black brothers and sisters. I love my white brothers and sisters, my Asian brothers and sisters, my Arabic brothers and sisters, Latino brother, everywhere. If you are a good person, if you are a decent person, you are good of heart, good of character, then we are cool. That it's that simple. If you are a terrible person and you want to go out and harm and assault and commit crime and do whatever, whether you look nothing like me or you look kind of like me, I'm not rocking with you, right? I'm not considering you part of my community and having some allegiance to you if you're an awful person. And I'm not going to be against you just because like we look different or we think differently in some ways or whatever. That's just not how I rock. And again, I don't think most people do. I do really think that there's this sort of amplified minority, especially if you spend a lot of time online. It can seem like, oh my gosh, everybody is going crazy. And I don't think everybody is going crazy. I think the past several months, for many reasons, have got people sort of amped up to various degrees. But I do believe that most people are good. Most people are sane. And I say this as someone who's met way more people than the average person will meet in their life. I've met over 500,000 people, like face to face, real life conversations. I've met so many people in so many different countries. I've traveled up and down all around the UK. I've traveled across the USA. I've traveled across Europe, the Middle East. I've been to 33 different countries now. I've been to a lot of places. I've met a lot of people. And I can simply say that most people are decent. Most people truly are decent. So maintain hope, and we will maintain that unity. Got another super chat here. This one is from Joanne. Joanne G. She sends $4.99. Thank you very much. I am grateful for your perspective and fight against the cancel culture. I pray for all who get caught up in the political crossfire. Yeah, thank you, Joanne. That's a good positive message out there, and I appreciate the thoughts. I appreciate the prayers, and yeah, as we've just said, people have been raising the temperature for a while. I think now is a good time to bring the temperature back down, right, and just come back to sanity. As the temperature outside goes up in the summer, let's bring the political temperature down. I know that's going to be difficult for you guys in the U.S. I know you've got your presidential election coming up in November, and the media and even the politicians are not going to want you on a unified front at all, like at all, regardless of side. They're going to want the hostility. They're going to want the anger, the mudslinging, the insults, etc., because that's just how the game is played. And I understand that. And yeah, there's nothing wrong with standing up for what you believe in and pushing for the candidate, etc., that you believe in. But you can do that without being a terrible person. You're right. You can do that without assaulting someone. You can do that without insulting someone or like wishing harm upon them or threatening them or, just all of this mudslinging. Like politics is a small part of who we all are. Even the very political people out there are things that are more important than politics, right? Like I've said before, like health, family, wealth, relationship with God or your belief system, the things that keep you motivated throughout the day, your work, etc. All of these things are going to have a much bigger bearing on your life, and certainly your own actions are going to, there's no politician. I've said this before. There's no politician, no matter who's in the White House, no matter who is in Congress, no matter who is in the parliament here in the UK, etc. Like, unless you get like a legitimate fascist or something, right? Which I don't think you need to worry about in these countries, right? Whether you're successful or unsuccessful or happy or unhappy, it should not be based, and it will not really be based on who is in office. Sure, it's nice when your guy or your gal wins. That feels good, just like when your sports team wins. But your own personal success in your life, in your career, with your family, with your friends, your relationships, your health, etc., doesn't matter who the president is. It doesn't matter, you know? So go and vote. Vote for the person who you want to win. Vote for the person you think is the best. But don't expect miracles, and don't expect total disaster either. You know, you had all these people saying that, oh my gosh, if Trump wins in 2016, I'm going to leave America. He's going to start World War III. Everything is going to blow up, and it's like, no, nobody left. Nobody left. None of those people left. It's just virtue signaling. The world won't implode. I'm now seeing people saying, "Oh my gosh, if the Democrats win, then America is going to blow up. This is the most important. You know, every election is the most important election ever." I notice that people always say that, and I don't know. Like, it matters to a degree, but ultimately, your own success and failure and your own happiness is not going to come from politics. It's just not. It's just not. It would take super extreme circumstances for that to be the case. So that's my thought there. Got another super chat here. This is from, thank you for this. How do I say your name? Is it Kwabena? Hi, Zuby. What do you think about the Brianna Taylor case? Should the officers involved be arrested? From what I understand, I think yes. This is where they did the no-knock raid, and they ended up shooting her, I think, in her own bedroom. I don't know all the details, but just from that, it sounds like, yes, they need to be arrested, and I don't know all the details, but yeah. They certainly need to be questions. There's some certain questions that immediately are raised from that. Number two, what are your views on Brexit? I don't have super strong views on Brexit. I'm one of those people who I actually voted Remain, but I voted Remain, but by the end of it, I was kind of like pro-Brexit because, look, it's a democratic election. It was a referendum. I think, look, you got to go with what the people want. From an ideological standpoint, I'm actually more sort of pro-Brexit leaning, but because at the time of the vote, if you remember back to the referendum, there wasn't really, people didn't really expect Brexit to win, right? They didn't expect the Leave campaign to win, so they didn't really have a plan in place of what they were going to do. And so from a sort of risk-reward perspective, I voted Remain because it's like, okay, I know what happens with Remain. That's the maintenance of the status quo. With Leave, I kind of get it ideologically from the country sovereignty point, and that's more how I lean. But if there's not a clear plan, and I mean, which we know there wasn't, we had to go through 3 different prime ministers to actually get it to happen. Because of the lack of plan, I couldn't bring myself to vote that way. But I'm not like a Ramoner. I was kind of like, okay, like, it's happened, let's get it done. And yeah, so we'll see. But as we can see, no one even talks about Brexit these days anymore. There's other things going on. Brexit went out the window, just like impeachment went out the window in the US, and everyone got hyped on coronavirus instead. So here we are. Awesome. Thank you very much for the super chats, guys. So I want to just talk about this term grifter for a second, because it makes me laugh, because it's one of the internet's favorite insults to anybody who sort of has political views that people don't like, or also anybody who sells anything online, especially if you don't agree with their political views, then everyone likes to call them a grifter. So I've been called a grifter for selling music. I've been called a grifter for selling an ebook. I've been called a grifter for selling merchandise. I've been called a grifter for just like speaking out and having a podcast and doing interviews. Like, everyone just gets called a grifter without anyone sort of knowing what this means. Anyone who is public and prominent, and especially if you earn money online, I can guarantee you that somebody is going to call you a grifter. So I thought it would just kind of be funny to look at the actual dictionary definition. And a grifter, this is what it's supposed to mean. A grifter is somebody who engages in petty or small scale swindling, right? So a grifter is someone who is like a con artist. That's essentially what a grifter is supposed to mean. It's not just supposed to mean someone whose politics you disagree with, or someone who sells things online, or someone who has a Patreon, or someone who takes donations or anything like that. That's not what a grifter is. Grifting would be like if I were running some type of scam or pyramid scheme or something, right? Like if I was using my social media and I had some, I don't know, some dodgy plan or program, or maybe I was selling some product and I was saying that this is my matcha right here. I'm just gonna take a sip. Yeah. If I was selling the some sort of Team Zuby matcha, which is supposed to increase your testosterone by 500% and make you grow all your hair back if you're balding, and just make you king of the world, right? Like if I were selling that and I were promoting it and it didn't work, then that would be grifting, right? That's like scamming people. Yeah, grifting is like scamming, swindling. That's what it's supposed to mean. So yeah, I just find it funny the way that 98% of people use the word totally incorrectly. But I feel like that goes with a lot of words right now. It seems like the language is being twisted up a lot recently, and I don't think that's a good thing, because I think firstly, I think English is a wonderful language. English is one of the languages with the, don't know if you guys know this, English has one of the biggest vocabularies out of any language. And we have so many descriptive and interesting words for so many things. It's part of why I love being a rapper. And I actually know that some rappers who rap in other languages are quite jealous of people who get to rap in English, because English has so many more rhyming words and you can do so much more with the language actually than you're able to do with certain other languages. But with that, I think, to me, precision of words is important. If you're trying to, the point of language, the point of words, the point of vocabulary is to get across certain statements and certain points. So if you're using a word just totally incorrectly, then it nullifies what you're trying to say and it leads to miscommunication. So using this example, we're just saying, right, if a grifter is supposed to be someone who's a swindler and a scammer, a snake oil salesman, someone who's selling, selling fake goods, or selling some kind of nonsense, right? That's what the word is supposed to mean. So when people just start using it to refer to people who have different opinions from them, or they just see someone who has a Patreon or a PayPal link on their YouTube, or someone asking for donations for their work, like me receiving a super chat, there'll be someone who might see that as an outsider and say, "Oh, he's grifting," and it's like, no, there's no grift, there's no deceit, there's no lying to people, there's no sort of trying to trap someone or put pressure on someone to run a scam or something. That's not grifting. This is just it's just like normal. It's just normal business. It's just people being people. Like, we all buy things, we all sell things. Even if you don't think you sell things, we're constantly all engaged in buying and selling on a daily basis. Sometimes that is ideological, sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's relational, but we are all always buying and selling, right? Every time you put something out there, you're selling something, right? I'm selling something right now. I'm not selling a product, but just by having this conversation, and the fact that, people are tuning in, this is like this whole relationship, every interaction, and people look at selling as a dirty word, right? People have a weird aversion to sales and salesmen and things like that, but people actually like being sold to, and people like buying things as long as they like them and they want them. There's nothing dirty about promoting. There's nothing dirty about selling, etc., unless you are actually grifting, right? If you're trying to scam people, if you're trying to use deceit or something that sort of steals people's money, or does something that's dishonest, then yeah, it's moral to sell. If you have something that's good and positive, it's actually moral to sell it. It's not neutral. It's a good thing to do. So it's actually an imperative for you to do that if you've created something that people value, and you can offer some good to the world. That's the way that I personally look at it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open up the questions again. I'm going to go through it. I see we've had some chats going on. So like I said, if you want me to definitely get to your question, then drop me a super chat and I will prioritize it. But let me just see what else we got here. Let's see. Someone asked me, do you ever play video games? You seem like the type to think it's unproductive. You know me too well. I play video games maybe like hour a week maybe. I don't play many video games at all. It's funny because I like video games, but because of what you said, I don't play them a lot. So actually, there's an Xbox One next to my second monitor here. You won't be able to see it. It's actually purple too. It's a purple Xbox. But I haven't turned it on for like 3 weeks. So yeah, I don't play a lot of video games. Oh, sweet. Patrick said, can't wait to get my OK Dude gear. How long till that ships to the States? Yeah, stuff is shipping. You should get an update on that. At the moment, it seems like things are shipping out after about 5 days. That's the sort of approximate timeline right now, assuming everything is in stock. But yeah, you will get updates on that. If there's any problem, if there's any delay or anything like that, then we will let you know. Oh, that's a nice comment. I saw you on Sky News. Nearly cried for joy hearing your sense, decency, and articulations. I appreciated it. Someone asked a question. If you could spend a few months learning from someone, who would you choose? That's a fantastic question. It's a fantastic question. If I could spend a few months learning from someone, who would I choose? Wow. I guess it depends on which area of my life it's in. If it were like music, I would love to learn from Tech9 and Travis O'Gwyn, who run Strange Music. I would love to sort of, hang out with them and learn some stuff from them. If it were just kind of like life in general and life knowledge, I'd love to hang out with like Jordan Peterson, maybe like once he's healthy again. That would be cool. Even Joe Rogan would be really cool to sort of hang out with for a longer period of time and just sort of see how he does everything, because he does so many things like I do. So those would be a couple off the top of my head. I see we got another super chat here. So let me jump to this. This is a super chat from Youngblood. Thank you for the super chat. He sends €5. Hey Zuby, it's me, Youngblood. I want to ask you, what do you think about Snoop Dogg post on Instagram calling out black conservatives the coon bunch? Yeah, that's not cool. It's not cool. It's a bad look. It's really, really bad look. Like I used to like Snoop. Like I used to think he was a lot cooler than I think he actually is. Musically, like I separate the music from the person, and musically he's still got some great songs and stuff like that. He's never been like one of my favorite rappers, but he's Snoop is Snoop. Like he does his thing and it's cool. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of just like these derogatory insults, especially these racial ones. I mean, it's like me. You guys know I don't use the N-word. I don't use the N-word in my personal life. I don't use it in my music. And I just find it so strange how at the same time we're living in this time where, I mean, my entire life, right? People are simultaneously fighting for racial equality, and people are claiming to be pro-black, and they're saying, Black Lives Matter and all this, but then they're turning around and calling black people the N-word, or calling people coons or Uncle Toms and all of these like racial epithets. And it's like, how are you going to be pro-black and then call other black people the N-word? You know what I mean? And then people will look at me as if I'm weird for saying that. And I'm just like, no, it didn't even make sense to me as a child. Like even in my teenage years, I was just like, no, I'm not going to use that word because it's derogatory and I don't want anybody to use it. I don't want anybody to call me that. So I'm not going to call anybody that, right? It doesn't make sense. And if you want all people to not use the word, then you can't be putting it in the music and in the comedy and in the movies and just throwing it around all the time like it's totally fine, and then being surprised or absolutely shocked when someone who doesn't understand context, especially like a young person, especially if they're into rap and hip hop and stuff, and they hear that word all the time and then they might repeat it. And I've seen this before. I've witnessed this. I'll tell you a story actually, because I've traveled to Eastern Europe a lot of times. So I've been to places like Hungary, Bulgaria, Serbia, Croatia, Poland, Slovenia, Slovakia. Like I've been to a lot of these countries where they really, really, really do not have a lot of black people. And I've met people, especially like young hip hop fans in their teenage years. And I can tell because the way they're dressed and everything, and, they're really into hip hop. And when they do see a black guy, they often want to like chat to me and befriend me or whatever. And I've had some of them say the N-word to me, thinking that, not even knowing that it has a negative context, because they just know, some of them, they don't speak that great English, but they just hear the music all the time and they love hip hop. and they hear this word all the time in their music, and they don't understand the history, right? They don't understand the history and the nuance and the context and all these. I mean, to be honest, most people in the West even don't. So how would you expect some kid in Poland who listens to Snoop Dogg and who listens to all these rappers to understand that? So it's a weird one, and you can't even really, I can't get offended because I know that intention matters, right? So if they're saying it so, to try to just sort of appeal to me and think it's cool or whatever, then I don't find it offensive. But yeah, I do have to tell them like, hey, like I'm not gonna wild out on you for that, but should know that that's not a word that you should use, because and it's hard to even explain to them, because they'll be like, oh, but I hear it in the music all the time. Why do they say it if it's bad? And it's hard for me to explain because I sort of ask the same question myself sometimes. But yeah, I don't think it's cool. Like I said, I don't think it's cool, like using any of this type of language. I think it just keeps I don't know. It's backwards to me. It's really, really backwards to me. And I think it's odd that, people claim to be like, especially when people are claiming to be like progressive and stuff like this. And as I said, pro-black. And then they're the same ones who will, if someone disagrees with them ideologically or politically or votes a way that they don't like or whatever, they'll be the ones to demean them. And yeah, it's not good. It's not good. Got another super chat here. This one is from K and All That Glitters. K, £5. Thank you so much. She wrote, I'm so happy to have found you. Would love to see you with Chloe Simone Valdery and her Enchanted Theory talk together. Bravo, gracias. Yeah, thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate that. Yeah. So, wow, where are we now? So thank you. By the way, shout out to everybody who is tuning in. I'm going to just, it looks like a lot of questions have come through, so I'm just trying to catch up on some of them. Someone wrote, oh, this is an interesting question. Obviously, I'm not an American, but someone wrote, if you had to pick one Democrat out of all of them who ran in the primaries to support, then who would it be? It would have to be Tulsi Gabbard or Andrew Yang. Those are the only two who I thought and think are sane. I don't agree with all of their policies, and I disagree with some of their stances, but I think they have integrity, and I think they're intelligent, and they're also not 80 years old, which helps. So it would have been one of those two. The others, to be honest, I thought the others were terrible. It would hands down be Tulsi or Yang. I thought the others were awful. So I've been told if I can't have nothing nice to say, don't say anything nice at all. So I'm not going to go through them individually and tell you what I dislike about them, but I'm not a fan. I would happily vote for Trump over any of them, to be totally honest with you. Let's see what we got here. Someone just said, yes, finally caught you live. Let's see. Steven's written an interesting comment. They use our desire for unity against us by being so evil that we give in for unity. Whoa, it's heavy. It's heavy. But look, we always got to rise above. Let's see. Brittany wrote, listening to you calms me. That's great. Thank you. I'm happy I can do that. Someone else wrote, yeah, same. His voice is so soothing. There's a whole conversation here. I agree. He needs to read books to us. That's funny. Zuby ASMR channel coming soon. Let's see what else we got here. I'm gonna run, I think, for about another 10 minutes or so. I'm not gonna go all the way to the hour because I'm a little bit tired. But yeah, actually, let me give a shout out to the Let's Do Humans podcast, which I have also featured on. Can't wait to get big enough to get called a grifter. Yeah, it'll come. Don't you worry. It will come. That's funny. Joanne said, your grifting pays off for me. Great t-shirts and hats. A winning combination. Thank you. Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. Awesome. So what should we talk about to close this one out? Let's see. What other thoughts do I have in my mind right now? Let me just have a think. What have we been talking about recently? Let's see. Yeah. I don't know. I don't have anything super specific to say right here. Someone has asked a question. I can get an okay dude red cap. Yeah, you can. TeamZuby.com. If you want to get any merchandise, hats, t-shirts, hoodies. Let me talk about merchandise because I had a huge merch drop last week. Last week was my biggest merchandise sales week ever, including Christmas periods. So firstly, I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who bought my merchandise. We sold over 100 of the new OK Dude hats, and sold a bunch of the t-shirts as well. I think we dropped like, how many new hats did I make? I think I made 12 new hats and something like 20 new t-shirts. We got the short sleeve t-shirts. We got the long sleeve t-shirts. We got the women's t-shirts in stock. If you go to teamzuby.com, if you want to support, got a whole bunch of cool stuff there. We got the OK Dude mugs as well in 2 different sizes. So if you want a mug for your drink, speaking of drink, I'm going to have a little sip. There we go. Yeah, thank you for the merch. And if you guys have any ideas for merchandise, if there's anything you want me to make, anything you'd like to see, then let me know. I'm really open to it. I like to make cool stuff for my fans and for my supporters. And people like it, people appreciate it, and of course it helps me to keep my business running, keep the lights on, keep everything going. I'm also going to let me give a shout out to my Patreon. If you guys want to subscribe to me on Patreon and support me on a monthly basis and get some perks, you can do that there. I am also on locals.com. That's teamzuby.locals.com, and Patreon, patreon.com/Zuby Music. So I'm just going to put those in the chat right there. If you'd like to support me on an ongoing basis, you can do it on either of those places. You guys probably know Patreon. If you don't know Locals, that is the one founded by Dave Rubin. I am on there, and I'm going to be putting up some exclusive content starting in the next couple weeks, actually. I'm going to really, really start growing that. So, those are a couple of options right there. Yeah, Joanne, she just wrote, I ordered my OK Dude hat the first day. Not only the first day, you were the very first person to buy one of the hats. So massive shout out to you. And here we go. Oh, we got a question from in the super chat. Ellie, thank you. She's he or she sends £9.99. Delighted to finally listen to your podcast. Thank you. This is not even officially the podcast. This is just the live stream. The podcasts always have guests. They'll typically have guests, and those drop every Friday at 6 p.m. UK time. 1 p.m. Eastern time. So yeah, if you want to check out the podcast, you can find that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, here on YouTube, etc. Got over 100 episodes out already. Got a big episode coming this Friday with Michael Malice. If you guys know Michael Malice, he is an author, political commentator from New York City. We actually had a whole conversation about North Korea. He's the only person I know who's actually been to North Korea. So we had a really interesting conversation about that. So if you are curious at all about what life is like in North Korea, then make sure you check out this Friday's podcast. So there we go. So I'm gonna call this one. I will be back next week doing another full live stream at the same time. As I said, we got the new podcast coming out this Friday. Go to teamzuby.com if you want to check out any of the merchandise. Once again, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you massively to everyone who decided to drop a super chat. It's always appreciated. And keep following, keep showing love, keep supporting, and I appreciate it. You guys have a blessed day and a wonderful week.